I'm calling this emergency meeting of the Lafayette City Council to order. We're going to say a quick prayer led by Councilman Nakhan.
In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for letting us gather today to conduct this business. And we ask you to please look over us, and we ask for your protection. We have a lot of events happening right now. Some of them are very much life-threatening. Please look over all those first responders and everybody out there fighting it. Please look over the families of this community and this parish and make us all safe. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Father, and Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Councilman Nakhan.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Moving on the fly here. Thank you everyone so much, and appreciate the media and everyone making time for us today. We appreciate it. We call the meeting to order. This is a public meeting and all speaker sheets are available for anyone wishing to address the council. The 3-minute rule does apply. Jeremy, will you please read? Or will Veronica please read?
Emergency ordinance. CO 077-2021, an emergency ordinance of the Lafayette City Council declaring and certifying a public emergency with regard to the need for drainage measures caused by the continuing rain and storm event and resulting flooding in the city of Lafayette, to execute any and all contracts necessary, incidental, convenient, or desirable to address this public emergency, and to make emergency appropriations for this purpose by amending the fiscal year 2021 operating and capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing the use of City General Fund prior year fund balance by a blank dollar amount, and increasing the use of City Sales Tax Capital Improvement Fund prior year fund balance by a dollar amount, and appropriating within the Public Works Department for emergency drainage measures.
I have a motion by Councilman Nakhan, second by Councilwoman Cook. Council discussion, I'm not seeing any. Mayor,
I'll let the mayor do his presentation first.
Mayor, I'd like to give you the floor real quick. First of all, thank you to you and your team for answering a lot of, I know, my calls, and I imagine I can speak for my fellow council members. God bless you. I've been calling you and the rest of the team about what can we do. We have this, and those calls started on Monday. So even today we talked about, you and I had a conversation about dredging the river. Let's get there. Let's hotspot. We've been talking about this. So that's sort of what led us here today. So you don't mind giving us a bit of brief discussion? I know you have a presentation you want to have take place. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And look, thank you to all the council members. We have 5 out of 5 that showed up on, a moment's notice. So, our people are being really best served here when we work together. So thank you. I also appreciate all the calls that you guys have made to me and to the administration, and just a collaborative effort. We're all dedicated to protecting life and property, and this is what this emergency meeting is for. So it's recognizing the emergency at hand, you're codifying it. And then second, it's appropriating funds. Also, there may be some residents out there wondering why the parish council is not having a meeting. The projects that are in the works for the parish outside the city, those projects have already been appropriated. Many of you guys that were here last Tuesday or a couple of days ago saw the parish council approve those measures. So the emergency meeting is not in play. Madam Chair, I do have our Public Works Department. The presentation may not be so elaborate. We're literally putting it together on the fly here, but I can summarize generally what we're aiming to do, and then Chad will come in here and fill the blanks. So you referenced spot dredging the Vermilion. I want to just clarify, we don't have a permission or authority to do a full dredge, from what was analyzed a few years ago, year and a half ago by the Corps. But maintaining and bringing the Vermilion River back to its natural state and doing general maintenance, we do have the permission to do that. Purely spot dredging within the city limits of Lafayette, Louisiana. I know there's a heavy focus on Coulee-Ile-de-Con and Coulee-Mean to expand the capacity of the Vermilion River and also our watershed. So that's a focus. this. I know many of our council members have had lengthy discussions, honestly, town halls in the past, so kudos to you for doing that. And this is going to help, and we really appreciate it. The other projects that Chad will talk to you about, your emergency declaration will expedite the process. Most of these projects, if not all of them, won't satisfy the requirement to avoid bid loss, so we still do have to follow that. There will be a delay, but it does speed up the process. Now, our legal team, our Public Works Department, our Drainage Department, along with our Traffic Roads and Bridge Department, we're working around the clock. If any of those projects do meet that criteria, we will do that. It's not a process we like to do. We like to follow bid law, but we much prefer protecting life and property over red tape. So we do appreciate that. And then also, as you guys have seen over the last few days, even at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we have crews out responding, because in certain flash flood events and with the watershed where we lie in that watershed, our city and the river, water can come from places that you didn't necessarily forecast. So our drainage department would need some additional funds to respond to that. We put that in the tune of $5 million, and we will follow up with an enumerated list of the activities that these guys will use that money for. And should we need more, we'll come to you. But if we do not, if we don't spend enough, then we'll come back to you and see how you want to appropriate that. So that's generally a summary, and I'll call up our Public Works Department Director right now, Chad Naveau.
And I do have those numbers for the blank lines that are on the agenda if you got to,
Yes.
because an amendment will be needed.
Okay,
You ready?
yep.
Okay, so for the first blank, it's 15,954,954,000.
Say 15 or 50?
15,954,000. And then the second number, it's 4,296,000.
No sense?
00 cents.
What's the second one? Can you repeat the second one again, please?
4,296, 000.
They just said that about me. No sense.
And I'm gonna need an amendment to include those numbers in blank.
I'd like to offer an amendment to offer the first line item at $5,945,000.
15.
50 million. Okay, yeah.
One
that's
five,
almost here.
one five.
Oh, one
15
five.
million.
Okay. $15,945,000. And the second blank to be filled in at $4,296,000.
I have a motion by Councilman Nakhan. Do I have a second? I have a second by Councilwoman Cook. I guess we are about to have a presentation, so we can hold off on council discussion and public comment until we finish this. Yep.
Well, good afternoon.
For the record? For the
Yeah, Chad
record?
Naveau, Director of Public Works. Again, the mayor did a good job. He gave you a good overview of some of the things that we're looking at trying to expediting. As you guys know, y'all get probably some of the same phone calls that we're getting right now in the aftermath of flash flooding and other events. But focusing on the river, it's always a big topic of discussion. We have been looking at a maintenance project, spot dredging. The surveys are done. We have information that says, we know where we need to be doing some maintenance. So we quantify that, and, getting moving on this is probably the highest priority project that we think will certainly serve a lot of people in the city. Drainage maintenance, ditch digging, flushing culverts. These may look small, but these provide a very valuable function in a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of localized benefit. Additionally, Public Works has, many projects for drainage. Of course, we have a lot of detention. We have other maintenance projects where, I use Walker Road, for example, because it's listed in here. Just last week or a week and a half ago, we had intersection flooding going on. And we have active projects currently that need funding to assist in that general area. So that's also part of it. And lastly, we have a lot of, and you've gotten these phone calls where people's getting water in their homes in subdivisions, again, more localized flash flooding events causing these problems. We believe we can go in there and really customize solutions to try to mitigate these localized floodings, and that's part of this plan also. So again, if you guys have any questions.
And one amendment to our presentation, we also have 2 flusher trucks in here. We have had several conversations with council members. You notice the ditches, sometimes you'll get complaints from neighbors that the water's just sitting there. A lot of times because Brian's guys are limited in their resources, can't get there quick enough, so that subsurface drainage is very important. We feel like that would obviously expedite the situation in these flash flood events. Hopefully the rain will stop, although we're preparing for the worst, being that the forecast shows a little bit more rain, so we know that would help. Now, we were going to request that anyway in the regular budget. I don't think there's any objection from any council members, but waiting till November 1st, I don't think is going to help, especially when we have hurricane season coming.
Do you have any sort of, I was sort of hoping for a presentation with maps to show us and give us an idea of exactly where show the public where these areas are specifically and what areas they're going to help. Do you have that?
Look, Exhibit 1, and it has all of this stuff.
Well, currently, we are still collecting information on, like, for example, where homes have flooded. I mean, that is information that's coming in through 311, is coming into our drainage department. Our engineers are also looking at answering phone calls and getting emails and things like that. So as we collect this data, we are compiling it and hopefully get it posted, and documented on the
I'm
map.
going to give you the list of the exhibit. I don't know if you have it in front of you, and then you can talk it through. That might help out.
Is there a way we can put it up on the screen? I'm pointing behind me. The screen's not down. Is there a way for us to put this on? Okay. That way the public can see?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm looking at comms. He's going to post it to your social media and upload it. But you can talk it through, at least you can
Yeah,
give a
talk it
geographical.
Sure, okay, I'll do that. Like I said, I kind of went through this. I didn't talk about the trucks too much, but.
One other thing, Chad. So remember, the council did approve several drainage projects on Tuesday, and we're very appreciative of that. These projects are more imminent to the threat that we're seeing right now, so we felt the need to bring it in the form of emergency declaration and emergency ordinance. So I don't want to downplay what you guys approved Tuesday. That will help the watershed, it'll help the city, but these projects are a little bit more tailored.
I would agree that this plan right here that you're looking at is focused on addressing this recent event and trying to mitigate any future flash flooding and just overall just to provide immediate benefits to areas that are, having problems with drainage.
So, we're all getting this, and I know you've been working on the fly on this, so we're all kind of moving at the speed of light here, but I don't want to rush too quickly. So if you don't mind, can we go over each line item and talk about specifically what areas that will help? Because I know I'm maybe not as familiar as a project in, I don't know, Mr. Lewis's district, because he's on the north side, I'm on the exact opposite side, so, and vice versa. So going number 1, spot Vermilion Dredging. Can you maybe tell us, if approved today by the council, which I don't think there's going to be an issue, but spot Vermilion Dredging, how soon can that project start? And give us a rough estimate of, we're looking at $5 million here is of that money from city capital funds, which we'll get to that later, but who exactly will that help and how soon can you start on this once we all vote yes? And I'll leave both of you, both your mics on, so feel free, whomever, I'm pointing at both of you.
So Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, so the fencer maker did the sonar engineering of the river. They're still actually in the process of finalizing it. Literally any minute now it should be finalized. But what the preliminary showings or findings are is that where we thought there would be buildup, Ildacon, Coulee, those are areas that is kind of an easy win. We also note that it's phase 1 because we do anticipate there would probably be additional spot dredging once or at least additional funding for spot dredging along there, because a lot of things at the river, even though it was clean years ago, it's it's crowded in there. So that's really the nuts and bolts of it. It's all within the city limits. I know that some of the, like Beverly and Cooley, Bendale Gardens, for example, I know they were just drastically hit with that, and that's right where Cooley Mean hits. And, you know, go along both north and south, you're gonna see a benefit. But you've been looking at this a lot more than I have.
Well, I had the privilege of looking at the heat maps that they produced when they surveyed the bottom of the river, and again, they're quantifying exactly how much material would need to come out, which is kind of important in putting a solid number on this thing. But I can tell you the Cooley Mean, where it goes into the bayou, Vermilion, is the worst area where you have very shallow water clean across the river. It's probably not even really navigable with any sizable boat. You got to be really careful anyway in low water, but. Certainly, I know that area is the worst spot, and from there, they're, you know, branching out, and we'll be quantifying as, you know, as the process moves along. But, and again, we call it a phase one because we do want to get in and not, with this funding, we would get in and do as much as we can with the funding we have. So how soon can we get in there? I think as a maintenance project, we should be able to move pretty quick. That if we can get around having to go through a longer, you know, advertisement process, I mean, I'm thinking we, you know, 30, 45 days potentially is probably, you know, something we can look at.
And there's possibilities for sooner as well. Also, Madam Chair, we do have our 3 civil engineers in the back if any of the council members have questions. Not to put you guys on the spot, but they've been working diligently all day in anticipation of an emergency ordinance, and then in working in conjunction with the chair, we made that decision to actually have an emergency meeting. But Pam, Fred, and Jimmy are back there. They worked extensively on these projects, if you guys have any
Yeah.
questions.
So that answers number 1. Number 2, drainage maintenance, well, and then spot dredging the Vermilion. And this is not going to, I know we need to confirm this. We've been having meetings about these particular projects for a while. Many of you, you've met with many of the council members. So this isn't something that's just been rushed. And it's also built off the recommendation of the Corps of Engineers. And you've been working with UL Engineering as well, right?
Correct.
So this will not negatively affect anyone north or south of us, correct?
That's a very good clarifying point. So UL, on the PhD scientific modeling side, has shown that the likelihood of hurting anybody is pretty much non-existent, and of course on the engineering side as well. This was also done actually more extensively than what we're looking at in the 90s, that no one was harmed by that. So if in layman's term, the way I interpret it, while the water, if there's any concern with water getting south of us quicker, as we all know, the Vermilion River also flows north. Well, then that same theory is correct, that it would go north quicker as well. So I think that's a good summary of that particular situation.
Yeah, well, I do know there's a vehicle in the river near the BVD boat ramp, so, I mean, it's something that needs to come out. I mean, it's causing some problems, probably a safety concern in low water and things like that, so we feel comfortable we'll be able to get in there and do that maintenance.
Okay. The drainage maintenance projects, $3 million coming from general funds. Can you go into a little bit more detail exactly which projects these are, listing them out, and what areas, maybe even what districts this will be coming from?
Well, again, that's currently out of the drainage department is where the targeted funds will probably be addressed. Some of their challenges. There's lots of ditch digging, ditch maintenance, coulee maintenance, culverts, cross drains improvements. Some are failing. This will advance a lot of maintenance issues on Brian's end for sure. And you know, being with short notice, I don't have a clear list for you to look at, but we can certainly put that together for you, so you'll know where we're focusing some of these dollars.
So I just got clarification,
No, go
and Kearney can help me out here, but it's so still Fund 101 allocated to the Drainage Department for drainage maintenance ditches inside the city limits of Lafayette.
Okay, you just beat me to my next question. So these are all ditches and drainage projects within the city limits of Lafayette?
That is correct.
And again, for all our parish residents, the only reason why we're not calling a parish meeting is because those particular projects were appropriated. This is because of the nature of this particular flash flood event. It just happens to be in the city where we need these additional funds. You know, God forbid, but maybe the next flood event, you know, might be in a different area, and then maybe a different council would come forward in an emergency meeting. I just feel the need to clarify that in case anybody's wondering out there.
So we are not taking the money and putting it into the parish-wide drainage fund. We're leaving the money in the city general fund and allocating it to drainage from the city general fund.
Okay. I'd like, and I know I speak for the rest of the council members when I say I'd like a list of all those projects whenever you get those. And how soon do you believe you can start on those projects?
Well, what I anticipate hopefully is using some contractual services to assist the crews. Well, and I'm speaking on Brian's behalf because we talked about this, but roadside ditch digging and some coulee maintenance, which is again in Public Works with our drainage initiative. We'd really like to advance that a little quicker, get out there and get more done through contractual services. Brian tends to do a lot in-house. So this is going to, again, give him an extra resource and a tool to get more scale to his operation and get it done more quickly. You know, which ties in with the equipment that's in here. It's also, again, a drainage department resource that we're going to be looking forward to in the future budget. But again, we expedite, get the equipment in there, get those pipes flushed, cleaned, and get better function with our subsurface systems. It's going to be a positive impact on local drainage. So again, to be specific, we'll have to get with some of the staff and see where those next targeted areas need to be, and so we can try to expedite those.
Okay. Can you get us, whenever you send us those, can you give us timelines for each?
Sure. Sure, yeah, once we know where we're going, we'll be able to put a schedule together.
And then additional public works projects, 401 capital funds. I see there's A, B, C, D. Can you give us an idea of where these are located and who they will help? Going through each one?
Okay, so Walker Road, I mean, this is a project that most of you familiar with. It's been on the books for a very long time. It's going through some reiterations with design over a long period of time, and ultimately we've landed the plane, and we're ready to start phase one. And again, that's going to address that intersection that continues to flood every time it rains. Our LUS facilities on the corner is susceptible to flooding, the parking lot, and even one of the buildings. So these projects are going to provide the relief that area needs, and we would like to expedite those projects. One of them has been bid. It came in over budget, but we are working it out. And of course, we're here today telling you that we would like the additional funding to be able to get started with that project. So, so both phases of Walker Road are going to benefit that area.
Yeah, so that's near,
This is near LUS or Walker, near the LUS,
near
main
Cameron
office.
Street,
Yeah.
Willow, that area. Okay. And that's phase one and phase two are the same area?
Yes.
Okay. And then C is Lake Farm Detention, which is on the south side of town near the,
Near Boyer Park.
yep.
Isaac Verot, Lateral 7, and then also a localized portion where we had some homes that are repetitive homes built basically in a bowl. So no matter what you do to the river and laterals and all those particular properties are going to flood. So the city at one point said it was safe, even though it was in a bowl. So we feel like we have a duty to fix that problem. So it was before any of you guys took office or me. So.
Okay, and then D, Mesquite Road Detention.
Yeah, now Mesquite, that is an existing dirt pit that is no longer in service, and this is an opportunity to take water off of a channel that drains to the river. It is a opportunity to provide relief to the river, yeah. This was in Caring Crow, actually.
That's in the city limits?
No,
Wait,
it's not.
Right
That
off
one
of
oh,
Hector
then
Conley?
amend that one.
that needs to be amended. That one got on here without us having that discussion
Yeah,
on that
okay.
location.
It is?
What?
It's in Karen Crow.
But in the city limits of Lafayette?
No, it's in Karen Crow.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying, but
Parish, actually.
it's,
We can
they're going
amend.
to take it off.
Yeah, we can amend that.
Okay.
We need to amend that one.
Sorry, I
That
was
one-
busy
that one
Googling.
Shouldn't have made it on the list.
Okay, so we're taking that off. So that then takes off the total $200,000.
Yes.
Okay. And then moving on to drainage equipment, flusher trucks, and we need 2 trucks. And what was the other one?
It's a great all. Okay, so this again supports the Drainage Department staff to be able to continue to expedite roadside ditch maintenance, coulee maintenance. The great alls are actually used for pipe laying, a variety of things, but again, those in-house projects. And this is more of an advance request ahead of our future budget in November. So we can, again, expedite getting our maintenance initiatives moving quickly.
And how long, I know we're giving you money for this, and again, we call this emergency meeting, the intention of moving quickly on this, so we can, how long until you think you can get these trucks in and get them on the roads? Because I know these are questions I'm going to get asked, so
Yeah.
is, how long until we see this?
That's a good question. I would have to get with our vehicle maintenance section to see what the lead time would be. I know we can produce a purchase order fairly quickly, but delivery time is kind of out of our wheelhouse. We
I can
don't-
help with that.
We don't really know, but
I can help with that.
Okay.
To make it a little easier. So whatever the answer is, subtract 4 weeks. Actually subtract 6 weeks, because for us to ordinarily do a budget amendment, we have 2 weeks internally, then another 2 weeks off of intro, then another 2 weeks for final adoption. But under these circumstances, it wouldn't be
Right.
the ordinary process minus 6 weeks because of the nature of what we're going through, especially all the subsurface drainage in the city of Lafayette that we need these trucks. It's, unfortunately, won't be here tomorrow, but it'll be here a lot
No,
quicker.
absolutely. It's just, I know these are questions
get
that
it.
I have constituents watching and texting me it's, well, how soon? How soon? We want relief now. And to your point is, I'm going to say we're passing
Yeah.
the process and we're moving it faster, but when? So,
yeah, you want a delivery date, I'm going to have to get with vehicle maintenance, and that's.
look, when I
again,
place an order online, I'm tracking that tracker. I'm watching UPS. So
I can assure you this, for these two, I know that they're going to be tracking it,
Yeah.
and we'll expedite it, but, and I get it, because I get
Yeah.
this same,
same.
probably some of the same constituents, which is extremely
so.
fair, extremely fair. I would be thinking the same thing.
So
I can
how long?
make that part
Yeah, I
of.
mean, I'd love to know, so I can tell my constituents, this type of thing typically takes 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year to come in. I don't know that, so if you don't mind getting us an
Yeah.
answer to that.
Yeah, well, we don't buy many of these that often, okay? So
Yeah.
I can't speak to the delivery times. I know that heavy equipment is generally easier to buy than, vehicles, passenger vehicles, because the manufacturers, they tool up their manufacturing plant, they make so many, and then they shut down. And so this type of equipment can be procured pretty quickly. But I'm not prepared to give you an actual delivery date.
No, and that's
But I
fine.
can
I'd
make that
rather you
part of my,
find out and let us
Yes,
know.
I can put that part of my
Okay.
submittal to you.
And then the final one is localized flood mitigation. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we're gathering data currently on homes that have flooded just recently, okay? And even prior to, we have existing data. And what happens is, this could be more geographically unique to some areas where you have a house at the end of the road, okay? The water, under a flash flood, that water's racing down that street, and it just passes up the catch basins, for example. So in the past, there's not a whole lot we could do about it, but we've decided, well, let's not just assume the road infrastructure there is, it's just not gonna, it just doesn't work well during flash floods. So let's enhance it by maybe putting, multiple catch basins. Of course, some of these areas are older. where the design standards or the designs at the time, they just can't accommodate flash flooding. But we believe we can go in and do some enhancements where some of these folks, where the ones, onesies and twosies, homes that have had problems, and create solutions for these folks, whether we diverting water or laying pipe, additional, upgrading the pipe sizes. And again, I can give you a list of these locations, and again, we have to assess these spots before we can turn them into, maybe little projects. But again, these will be easy wins because we believe we can provide some creative solution to someone who's flooded during a flash flood.
Okay, yeah, please, and send us that list as well, as well as timelines. That way we can all effectively communicate to our constituents when they can expect to see something. So,
absolutely.
So we'll have those two lists. Fellow councilmen are sorry for hogging the mic as long as I did. I just wanted to line these, may have answered some of your questions already, but let's go ahead and give you guys some, I'll take a moment off the mic. Councilman Lazard, I accidentally bumped you off. I'm sorry, I'm just going to turn your, hold on, no,
Go ahead.
no, here, your mic is live, go ahead.
So on the spot dredging of the Vermilion, is that primarily those 3 hot spots that were identified last year? Because I think when we went through this process and we were looking at an overall dredging in the courts, the Corps said that it didn't justify the cost. And I think we identified at some point what we call 3 hot spots on the Vermilion. Is that what we reference in here?
I don't recall specifically the 3 hot spots you're referring to, but I'm sure they're not far off because this is, again, with the surveys that I just looked at, it's pretty obvious where the shallow water is. And, I certainly can get more information on that.
There's 2 areas.
Because there were 3, right, Nanette?
There were more than 3.
But there were 3 specifically that we talked about last year.
Talked about some.
Yeah.
I know
But the
truly-
intent is wherever they are, we're going to
Yeah.
remove,
Yeah.
that's the intent.
Yeah, but these were identified as,
Yeah.
worst.
the
Wherever
worst.
the science, wherever the science takes us, that's where we're going to go.
Now, I'm just,
We can verify the information, because again, our survey is probably a little different than their cross-sections that the Corps used to make their determinations. So, I certainly believe our information is more accurate, more precise, and certainly more current. So I'm really excited about the data we have. And I was going to say, Fred, I don't know if you remember what channels that we identified that provided
And
some.
identify yourself,
hotspots.
please.
My name's Fred Tron with Public Works. I am Capital Improvements Director, Program Manager. Yes, as Chad said, we've recently completed a sonar evaluation of the river. There are very specific areas, and I can mention 3 of them, is Ildacon Confluence. The confluence of Coulee is the worst, and there are literal, they go beyond shoals. They're actually plugs in the river. There are some areas at near the airport where Bayou Tortue tries to enter the Vermilion. All of those, I guess the important thing to say is that the river once didn't have those shoals. It had been cleaned. And gradually, the river has changed in its ability to convey the water. What we want to do is reestablish historical conveyances in the river, not improvements, not reductions, and not detrimental things to our neighbors and things like that. We just want to go back to historical grades and volumes of conveyance such that we can go back to a more, a higher degree of some conveyance in the river.
that's fine. And I certainly understand that. So about 2 and 5, drainage maintenance projects and localized flood mitigation, and these are throughout the city, right?
That is correct.
but we haven't identified specific projects or spots yet.
I don't have specific locations today.
Okay.
And I can elaborate. So during the course of these flash flood events, and we saw this specifically over the last few days, especially the other night when the rain was really coming in, I think it was Monday night. Monday night, okay. So our crews are working 24 hours a day. And if they need the flexibility to be able to act on the situation without having to convene the council, do an emergency meeting at 4 o'clock in the morning so that they can go and unplug a culvert or whatnot.
And we don't expect them to.
No, you wouldn't appreciate that. I'm with you. But what Chad is committed to, and I'm committed to it, is we will provide enumerated lists here as we go, and periodically. And if we don't spend all the money, we'll be glad to put it back in the fund and or reappropriate it as you guys see fit.
Will you, are you entertaining suggestions from us as problem spots that we've identified in our respective districts?
We always welcome that.
Okay.
Always. And quite frankly, it's been helpful. I mean, look, over the last 3 or 4 days, there have been things that you guys have sent me. I gave it to the appropriate directors, and they acted really quick.
Okay. That's it.
Good.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Cook, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Fred, don't go too far, Fred. Come back. No, first of all, I want to thank Fred. We've had several discussions about dredging the river, trying to improve the river capacity. And to Councilman Lazard's point, we met with the Corps several times, and basically we were told that, yes, full dredge of the river was not going to be beneficial. It wasn't going to be it wouldn't get enough bang for the buck. So, but the spot dredging was something that we really always talked about doing. So I'm glad we're getting to this point a lot faster than maybe we had thought we were going to get. But my question on the spot dredging, first of all, is, we know some areas, and I know we've done some studies, and we know the areas. Do we have a location for where to put the spoils? I mean, I know that was always a big discussion too. I mean, I'm hoping that doesn't delay the process. So I'm assuming that we're looking into where we're going to put all the stuff that we dredge out of the river.
It's a good question. It's going to be, a challenge we have to overcome. But I mean, there's options along the river where we can stage. We don't have anything specifically identified. I think what's going to happen, it'll be a little strategic. We're going to figure out where the quantity is, the biggest quantity of excavation, and we really want to be close to that area. I mean, that's the desire. And as I mentioned, currently these quantities are being calculated. So I don't have 100% of all the information I think I would need to know or even suggest where we might want to make a transfer, off a barge or
Right.
onto land, you know what I mean? So I have had some conversations with a few landowners about the possibility of using their property. The city actually owns some property in the city on the river that could be useful, so we certainly would take advantage of that. And again, we'll come up with a strategy as soon as we have those quantities and know exactly where the volume is going to come from.
Okay, well, it sounds like there's been discussion, so that's good.
yeah.
So we've been
No, we're
talking about
excited
it.
about it.
And I guess the other issue was about Vermilion Parish, pushing back on us doing anything different, but I think the spot dredging was not going to cause an issue. I know we're waiting on that report.
Right, we would, we're committed to being good neighbors. We would never do anything that would hurt any of our parishes to the south. And again, just remember the Vermilion, what Fred said perfectly, we're bringing it to its natural grades. This is what God gave us. This wasn't what, man is what messed it up. So, bring it back down to that. But also, if you notice the Vermilion, and we saw this yesterday, even today, where it's flowing north, and if the theory is that it's going to flow south quicker, well, then that same theory applies. It'll flow north quicker too. Very much of a layman's term. We got 3 engineers that are probably shaking their head and cringing when I say that, but that's really the gist of it. So, but it's similar to the spoil banks, in St. Martin Parish, where our engineering is showing that it wouldn't harm anyone, but there's some concerns, and we want to be good neighbors with our colleagues over there, and they have their own struggles that they're working with too. So we respect that, but we'll get there.
Right, well, I'm kind of like you. The layman's term would be, I think about it, we have this bathtub and we're just making it bigger. It's back to its normal capacity, so I feel like, that to me makes sense, and we should have the right to do that. All right, moving on to number 2, the drainage maintenance projects. I'm just clarifying, basically, we're kind of basing those on historical information, right? Every time we call about something, that's, so I know Councilman Lazar was concerned about what projects we're going to be included in that. I know that you've probably been keeping a log of and the habitual problems, they're making that list. So I'm just hoping you're nodding yes, so that.
Yes, but I'll add, just because of the nature of this particular, I was going to say hearing, meeting. So we did pick, all those projects do fit that criteria, but these are also specific to this flash flood event because we want to make sure that we're targeting these particular residents as quick as we can. And sometimes it's frustrating because of the way that the laws are built in. But if we can expedite that, that's what we're doing, controlling what we can control.
And do we ever consider buying homes from people's houses? Repeat, was that part of is that part of this plan too? I mean,
Well, we
Or
didn't
not.
discuss it quite in great detail, to that detail to share with you today, but we do have a program to buy homes. It's through hazard mitigation.
Right.
It's a grant program. It's voluntary. It's through our planning and zoning department. It's certainly a program I think that should be promoted. I promote it every chance I get. I mean, we certainly, sometimes just a buyout is the most economical and feasible thing to do. And again, it's voluntary. So if someone wants to move, there's an option to get out.
and do we ever consider, like, I guess if there were a group of homes in a particular area that maybe it kind of turns out to be a natural retention or detention pond, would we, I mean, is that something that we're also would consider, that if there's, not that we want to take over a whole neighborhood that floods, but if those kind of situations come up, I guess that would be something Public Works would be included in that conversation, even though it's planning and developments, planning and zoning, whatever, that's their deal, but is it something that they would pull you in to see, okay,
Let me maybe help. So weekly, we do a detention meeting, and the way we start off, like this group of projects for the 2021 list, when we get Jimmy and our Pam and Fred, all our engineers in, what my guidance to them is to say, give me the hydraulics that will help mitigate flooding, and then we'll work backwards from there. Now, a lot of those plans, they overlay it on a map. And if there's houses in there, well, is there a different way so that we don't have to address that? And in other ways, you go through the normal process where you negotiate with property owners. We haven't had that particular situation, and sadly, we haven't had that situation because there's so much work to do that we haven't gotten there yet. But it will probably come to that if you really want to aggressively address that. But then again, every time we do these improvements, we go back to the engineers to remodel, and those models change. So I'm very confident that in the next month or two, we're going to have the most up-to-date models of at least the watershed as it applies to Lafayette that we've ever had, which is going to help us expedite other projects.
And then those kind of gimme houses, like those ones on Cooley Mean that are on the South College side, that basically we had to condemn them, and they're no longer there, but it retains water there anyway. So I guess that was, just along those lines. I was just, wondering if we're still doing some of that, and it sounds like we are, so appreciate that. Okay, as far as the drainage equipment that we're talking about, these are using city funds, so they're going to be just used in the city, this equipment?
So these flusher trucks is really for subterranean drainage, and that's primarily in the city. I know there's an example of outside the city, but one thing you have to realize is on those trucks, everything that goes with that truck is paid for by the parish. So fuel, all the equipment on it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tires, transmission.
Not opposed to sharing it, I was just trying to clarify it, yeah.
The manpower,
Well,
so the
we
person.
pay for that too.
So the
but
people.
That's the thing, is we pay part for those tires, part for that gas, so no, that's already split as well as.
No, I don't think so.
No, it's not allocated.
No.
That's not allocated.
It's 100% parish funds.
But I also want to focus the subterranean drainage. I'm only saying it's not 100% in the city because I know there's a couple outside the city limits, but when we're looking at it, take, for example, this particular flash flood event, I know our response has been overwhelmingly in the city in regards to that. Now,
I guess I'm not opposed to sharing. I guess my question would be if we, do we need, is that enough? I mean, if we find that we're in a situation we need more, I mean, I guess you would come back to us and say, look, it looks like we need more of this equipment to take care of what we need. So I guess that was my concern. So I think that was all I had. I think that's all I have, so I'll sign off.
Mr. Lewis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have this for Brian.
And the middle mic is live as well, so if you want to use that way we don't have to sanitize Fred in case we need him here.
Hey, Brian. Okay, on the flusher trucks, do you have any now?
Yes, we do. Brian Smith, Director of Drainage, for the record. Yes, we currently have 3 operational. 2 are maybe a couple years old. The third one is getting old. It needs to be replaced.
So they'll give you approximately about 5, correct? Somewhere around there with these 2?
Yeah, I have 3 assigned operators right now, and they are a high maintenance item. You know, they have a lot of moving parts on them, so it's always good to have a spare that's reliable.
Well, that's no problem. I can understand the need, but I just want to make sure you have the employees for that, the operators. That's my concern. You do have operators for
I
that.
do have 3 current operators, and those positions are filled.
So we won't have to go out and hire someone. If we have to, we need to do it.
And we can do that with that drainage maintenance money.
Yeah, okay, and I'm bringing all this up because I know there was an error on the Mesquite Road detention, about $200,000.
Yes, correct.
I would recommend that we leave that $200,000 in case you guys need that money for something. I don't know what my colleagues are thinking, but because I hate to see that $200,000 go, and y'all might come back and need it. But, I mean, it's up to my colleagues as well. And how do y'all feel about that?
In full candor, I think we could, I appreciate that, by the way. I think in full candor, I think if we amend it and just remove it, it would be a little cleaner.
That's
If you
fine.
if you did want to do that, my recommendation would be to appropriate to that, kind of the maintenance part where we're, this quick reactionary force dollars. And I'll defer to the council.
Well,
I think it's a good recommendation,
I'm not going to keep it, I'm not going to make it dirty. But I'm just concerned about that because I'm looking at these numbers. I just want to make sure we're taking care of the constituent, the citizens, wherever it may be for sure in the city of Lafayette. But then I do understand that we sharing these flusher trucks and all these other things that's coming along with it. But I just want to make sure that the citizens are taken care of because with this rainfall we just had a couple of days, and we had this in 2016. It was unreal. Now we are facing it again. Now, I'm glad Mayor President is doing something about it this year. I don't think nothing had been done in quite some time. So I just want to make sure that we ready and prepared because hurricane season is coming. And I'm hearing from you guys saying that we're ready to start quickly. So I want to make sure we're there, we're ready, because I don't want people to call and say, we didn't get any service. And here's the opportunity now. You'll have the opportunity now. We 5 of us here. Y'all have us. Let us know. Thank you.
And to manage expectations, that was, I appreciate that. And look, I feel the support from all 5 council members and the council members. I hope you know you have the support of the administration and working together, we're serving our people. But let's manage expectations to our folks, to our community. We together, all 6 of us in the parish council, we have our chair here, those 5 gentlemen. We are fixing problems that date back probably 45, 50 years, and that's just the honest truth. Where no one here is pointing fingers. There was data available to the previous people in those positions that were just quite frankly inaccurate. Maybe some decisions that weren't made that should have been made. Maybe some decisions that were made that shouldn't have been made. We can't control that, but what we can control is not making excuses. We own it, we wrap our arms around it, and we're controlling what we can't control, and that's what we're doing today together, both council and administration.
Councilman Nakhan, you have the floor.
Gentlemen, thank y'all much. I know y'all feel like y'all dealing with the 9-headed beast, but y'all are taking it on and putting a smile on your face still. I don't know how y'all do it. If you don't mind, the Coulimene and Ile de Con entrances into the Vermilion are at what points along the Vermilion to identify for the people that may be listening? Coulimene comes in the Vermilion where the Rotary Point is that around that area?
Rotary Point, that is correct.
And Ile de Con comes in at what area?
It's on the south end of the parish.
By, is it
The
close to?
Lafayette Vermilion boundary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just north of that.
Okay, so it's
Just
very,
inside
very
Lafayette
southerly end.
Parish.
So you're hitting 2 spots that really are critically moving a lot of water out of the parish, out of the city and the parish.
Those 2 channels are the biggest
Yeah.
water movers that
Okay.
we have.
Well, I figured, I remember Coulimene going into Rotary Point, but I have not been to Ile de Con. As to where it actually enters the Vermilion, I've never been down that far, so, okay, that identifies that. So that, I know what you're talking about now. There's a little bridge that crosses that on Robley Drive.
And it's currently underwater.
Yep, always underwater, you're right. Now I know what you're talking about exactly. Okay, second thing is we're talking about the flushers, and that basically cleans out the catch basin, storm drains, that's for those areas there. I'd like to make a comment, and Chad and I talked about that earlier today, how desperate the situation can be because there are so many catch basins and storm drains throughout the city of Lafayette, many of them basically on private property. And if people would please, if you can, go and clean your own storm drain out right there. At least remove the debris from blocking the water getting into there. It does twofold. It allows water to leave your property, number one, and number two, it keeps stuff from flushing into the storm drain, which causes clogs and restricts flow. It makes a difference. I mean, just go on Parkside back there with that bridge with collected all the debris and actually was knocked over. So you can not only stop the movement of water, but it creates great force of backup that really causes more damage to other things. So if you're able to and you have storm drains and they need cleaning, take it upon yourself to take a rake and clean it out and throw it in a recycling can or something just to help get rid of it. I know you guys can use every bit of help you can get. It's being a good neighbor and good citizen. And I know it's our job to do that, but sometimes we all need a little help, everybody across the plain. So I just want to thank you guys. I wish y'all luck. We'll do all we can to help you on this end, that's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have some more follow-up questions. Pat brought up Councilman Lewis brought up a really good point. I know in the past it's been an issue of equipment trucks and not having enough staff to operate them. We sort of touched on that, but can we please clarify that if we do get these 2 trucks, we're not going to have trucks sitting in the shop. They're going to be out. Like you said, we have 3 now, I think, that we will then now have 5 out there. We're not going to have 2 sitting here because we don't have enough people to work. Can you confirm that for me?
I'll probably end up getting rid of the one that's older because it becomes costly just to keep those maintained. And yeah, if I can put an additional party on there, I definitely will do that.
Okay.
But I currently have 3 positions filled at the moment. We do have a little struggle in filling positions, and we're working on that, trying to get that resolved.
Okay, so I guess that has me a little concerned because we're putting money in. I want these trucks out there. You know, even if you said you're going to retire one, that's technically only 1 new truck out there. I don't want to spend the money on this and not have it out there at all times. So, Mayor, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, that's a valid concern. It's a concern that Brian and I and the CAO have been banging our head against the wall here probably for about a little bit over a year now. So what we're committed to do is go the normal route, let Brian go through the civil
Yes,
service
of
route,
course.
but we're working with legal to see if we can contract some of those, some of that labor, even if it's just on short term during situations like this where we're battling a flash flood. So there's options out there, but I know the intent why you're saying that, and just know we share that intent. Like,
Okay.
don't let those trucks sit.
And perhaps it's not putting the funds in here, but come budget, we're adding another position
Oh, yeah.
to fill that. Because again, I don't, and I'm speaking for my council members, want a truck sitting, not just because we don't have an employee. I know we're taking out one of those detention projects. Is there a way, rather than just amending that project, do you have another project, let's say, because we have 2 on the north side and 1 on the south side, do you have another one, whether it's mid-city or south side project that we can plug in here?
I can get that.
Yeah.
So because of the scope of this particular meeting, we're addressing, in the sense of an emergency, we're addressing projects that would be relevant to this particular event. There are other projects all across the city, all across the parish, either that haven't been fully vetted with an engineering standpoint, but they have been identified, and I'm telling you, it's on every coulee, definitely more along the river, just hadn't had that final engineering. And of course, there's Localized. We mentioned one Localized part of the Lake Forum project, has 2 components, Lateral 7 watershed type initiative, but also Localized. There are, I can't tell you how many examples across our city, across the parish, where these neighborhoods were built in a bowl. So we're gonna be addressing that over the next couple of years. As a matter of fact, I'm finalizing my budget right now to submit to you guys. You'll see in the capital 5-year capital plan, it's gonna look a little different than last year. A lot of it's because you guys gave me some recommendations, which I appreciate, but also to fulfill exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, so there's not a shovel-ready project that you feel that's been vetted out that you can add to this right now to get it speedy, getting through the process?
If there is, put it on there.
Funded.
I'm
The
sorry.
shovel-ready projects are funded. In fact, some of that funding came last Tuesday night from you guys to fund some, again, they're fully engineered, plans are ready. So we were already ahead of that. And, you know, for the purpose of today's meeting, I wouldn't want to tell you I need money for a detention pond or a facility like that and I'm still 6 months away from being able to break ground. I mean, that was just wasn't appropriate for
Okay,
this
nope,
meeting.
that's fine. And then talking about, a lot of the calls I've have received the last 3 days have been people who live along the river and the coulees. And some of these coulees can't be dug out because they're concrete coulees. Has there been any discussion as far as coulee detention along our coulees of how we can hold that water and store that water before it goes to Vermilion? Has there been any more discussion about that? I remember last round of projects y'all brought to us, we talked a little bit about coming up with a system that can hold that coulee water so it's not letting the coulees rise or rushing to the Vermilion. Because we've done so much work outside and away from the coulees that we're making the water rush there faster, and that's great for everyone else, but not the people who live along those rivers and coulees. So has there been any more discussion about that?
Well, it's a fair question on our concrete line coulees. I suppose in some instances, there is a little bit of a balancing act here because the concrete does move the water quicker. It also helps a lot of people where the density is great. But again, that water does land ultimately in Bayou Vermilion. So, we've talked about it. It's kind of hard to find opportunities in the city to build detention because everything's grown, it's developed. But we are finding some smaller, opportunities. But like Coulee Mean, we want to, it's concrete line through the city. We're actually going to go above the concrete line section. And we do have some potential projects along Coulee Mean, but just not in the city per se, but it's going to benefit, Coulee Mean, for example.
Sure.
And I'll add to that. Yes is the answer. 98% of the projects we give to you guys, at least since January of last year, have been detention and holding the water, and catching the water, and timely releasing the water in a safe manner before it gets to the river. One of the projects that we talked about just now, Lake Form, does exactly that. It's on Isaac Verrott Lateral 7. Now, it's a lateral, but man, if you go out there, it looks like a coulee, like a regular coulee. It's big and it carries a lot of water. So those are just other projects. Y'all funded Corporal Middlebrook's detention pond on Tuesday. That's another one, catching the water before it goes to the river. So 98% of what we do, and it's just because that's what the mission has called for. We still clean out, we still move the water, as you mentioned, Madam Chair, but we got to catch it before it gets to the main artery.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I have one in particular, Councilwoman Cook brought up a good point, is, we have people who, I've talked to a gentleman today, he's flooded 6 times in 5 years. You guys have been to his house with me. They're at their wits' end, and I don't blame them. And, I've just recently learned about this buyback program, is let's buy his house, and maybe that can serve as a coulee retention, not just for him, but his whole neighborhood that continues to flood. So I'd love to talk to y'all about that, selfish plug on my part. But council members, do y'all have any more questions, any more discussion while we have the experts up here? No? All right, well, perfect. Well, thank you, guys. Well, I know we have an amendment on the floor. We're amending the amendment. So go ahead, Councilman Nakhan. Let me turn your mic on. Hold on one second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The initial blank, the first blank, will now read $15,754,000. And the second blank remains the same at $4,296,000. So those should be the accurate numbers now.
And if you can add to the amendment to include the exhibit, minus D, Music Road Detention.
In that case, we'd like to include the
So with
list
the
of
emergency, it lists the project, we need to include the exhibit minus D.
We're going to include the list of the projects on the exhibit dated May 20th, 2021. Last item D on the third item, which is the $200,000 for Music Road Detention. We'll eliminate that off the list.
And Ms. Cook, you were the second of that amendment? Okay, so we have the amendment on the floor.
Thank you very much.
Do I need to withdraw the first one? Or
No,
Good.
we just cleaned up what was already on the floor.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Nakhan and Councilwoman Cook. Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am?
All right, let's go to a vote in the council to adopt the amendment as is.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5? Yes. Motion to amend is approved.
And now we vote on the amendment, the ordinance as amended.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
District 1? District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5? Yes. Motion to adopt as amended is approved.
And with that, meeting adjourned.
We got to do the intro ordinance, the second ordinance.
Psych. Nope, introductory ordinance. Jeremy, will you please read?
City Ordinance 78, 2021, an ordinance of the Lafayette City Council recognizing and ratifying the declaration and certification of a public emergency as stated in Emergency Ordinance Number, City Ordinance 77, 2021, with regard to the need for drainage measures caused by the continuing rain and storm event and resulting flood in the city of Lafayette to execute any and all contracts necessary, incidental, convenient, or desirable to address this public emergency and to make emergency appropriations for this purpose by amending the fiscal year 2021 operating and capital budget of the Lafayette City Parish Consolidated Government by increasing the use of city general fund prior year fund balance by blank amount and increasing the use of city sales tax capital improvement fund prior year fund balance by blank amount and appropriating within the Public Works Department for emergency drainage measures.
Okay, okay, I have a,
You need a
I
motion
need
on
a
the
motion
floor
and
first.
second on this one first. I have a motion by Lewis, second by Cook.
Can I offer an amendment?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, let me make your mic hot. I'm live. Hold on one second.
I'd like to amend the introductory ordinance to where the first blank reads $15,754,000, and the second blank will read $4,296,000, and also offer into the amendment the list of projects less the item D and line item 3, the Music Road detention project.
All right, I have an amendment on the floor. Do I have a second? Second by Councilwoman Cook. Let's, any council discussion? Not seeing any public comment?
No, ma'am?
All right, let's vote on the amendment.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5? Yes. District 1? Yes. Motion to amend is approved.
Oh, I didn't.
All right, let's vote on the ordinance as amended.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5? Yes. District 1? Motion to introduce as amended is approved.
All right, and with that, I adjourn the emergency city council meeting. Thank you all.